It's the S24 Ultra now after 72 hours of use. I want to touch on the display stuff for the video from the other day because there were a lot of comments, not necessarily defending Samsung, but saying, why is this such a big deal? Why would you comment on this? This is not a bug. I like it more natural, all the rest of it. First off, for $1,300, I think that we should have the choice. And there's clearly an issue there. If Samsung is coming out and saying, you know what, we have to fix this, there'll be a software update for this because the Vivid mode and the RGB stuff just doesn't work. That's not supposed to be. So in a $1,300 phone, you got to have, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You have to sit there and question some of these things. Don't think that the company is just going to do it out of the goodness of their heart. They might not think it's a problem. They might not know some people are displeased with it. They might say, oh, people want a more natural display, and leave it as is. If it's something you don't like, for the amount of money that you paid, you should be able to complain about issues that you don't like. And don't sit there and say, like, a lot of people say, oh, this is nitpicky. Everyone's going to complain about something. Samsung's not some boutique company making $500 phones that if they get some bad press, they might go out of business. Samsung employees aren't going to be on the breadline if a couple people criticize some of the things about the S24 Ultra. This phone has gotten nothing but just nauseating, glutinous praise from every corner of the internet, despite being the most uninspiring thing since the S23 Ultra. And yet people are upset about, oh, you can't say anything about this. Trust me, uniting up for Samsung is not going to help them in any way. People should get the choice to have whether they want the Vivid display or not. Samsung's clearly going to address it. They should. You're paying full price for the phone, and you should get all of the features of the phone. Now, that's enough of that, okay? Because I'm going to move on, because the majority of the phone is excellent. There are a lot of things to like with this. Sometimes boring can be good. Sometimes being uninspiring and safe works, especially when you're Samsung. You have this not insurmountable, I won't say that, but you have this huge lead here in the United States on all the other Android manufacturers, and you're kind of sitting on it a little bit. This is the phone you come out with. And there's lots of things to like. I mentioned the display. Outside of the colors and all the rest of it, it is the sharpest, clearest display that I've used on a device. One of the better Samsung panels. If they get the color stuff sorted out, I think it's going to be the best Samsung panel. I love the brightness. You got to turn the extra brightness on. Make sure you have the Quad HD Plus on here. Go into settings. It's full HD when you first get it. Also, link in the description does help the channel. You still can get the pre-order rewards. Best Buy give you $150. If you don't want the $150 in credit from Samsung, you have to force it to use it on those cases. Get a $150 gift card from Best Buy. Use that link in the description. Does help the channel. So let's talk about it. Display we talked about, the flat build. I happen to like that. I understand where if you have smaller hands or you're concerned about holding this, where this becomes an issue because it does get wide. This is without a case on it, and it's wide, and I have bigger hands. So to be able to get around it with a case on it is kind of stretching the limits, and that's because they didn't just go with the flat edges. They went with the flat display, but also to make it more comfortable against your fingers, they kind of rounded the titanium edges a little bit, which should help with comfort, but it does make the phone a bit wider. But I always look, if you want tapered displays back, fine. Put that on the S24 and 24 Plus series, because that's kind of where you're used to it, as opposed to where you're using an S Pen. I want to be able to write from edge to edge with the S Pen without it rolling over and having an issue there. Performance, you're not going to get any complaints out of performance. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is phenomenal in this device. Silky smooth. One UI 6 and now 6.1 has been the best Android software on the platform, I think, for a few years now. Really excellent, really smooth, no hiccups, back and forth. It is just a silky experience, as you'd expect for the money. Right? Samsung doesn't get a gold star for that, but they are delivering on the performance aspect. It is phenomenal on this device. Anything you want to do, you're going to chew through without issue. We've been overpowered on these devices for years, and this is just extending it. But now you get the AI stuff, the Galaxy stuff, the Note Assistant stuff, the Circle Search stuff, and all the rest of it that comes with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Don't love that some of those features are coming to the S22 Ultra. That's going to be a different video when we do the comparison, but that's something to consider. Plus the 7 years of support. And people are saying, wow, who's going to keep a phone for 7 years? Why would I want? People do. How many? They're not necessarily the iPhone of Android yet. I think that's the different plateau that you have to get to. But if you're looking to be that, how many of these are going to be beaten around? In fact, when we talk about the S23 Ultra tomorrow, in comparison to this, I think that's going to be a phenomenal deal. $600, $700 that you can pick up an S23 Ultra and get a lot of the features plus the AI stuff that you're getting on the S24 Ultra. If you could get that, 2-3 years from now, if you could pick one of these up, still running well, still getting support, all the rest of it, why wouldn't you do that? $300, $400, $500. It doesn't necessarily affect the first user, even though it could if you keep your phone forever. But later on down the line, it keeps people in the family, keeps people in the brand, keeps people using this stuff. And if they start charging for these AI features, which is the rumor next year, well, it gets people in the ecosystem, right? It's a loss leader. It just gets people in the door, and you could go ahead and have them paying for your other services. Battery life, really great. I was hoping that they wouldn't mess that up. They did not. Battery life got excellent on the S23 Ultra, even better. Still learning, okay? But I've seen you could easily get 9 hours of screen on time. And that's even with the goofy AOD on. The always on display, that's with the always on display on that wallpaper mode or whatever, which does eat battery. If you go into your battery drain, you're going to see it 5%, 6%, 7% is going to be that always on display with the wallpaper in the back. But even with that, I could easily get 9 hours of screen on time. And I could see a scenario where if you turn that off, you could get 10. That's like a magic number. That's the iPhone 13 Pro number, Pro Max number, I should say, that got there. That is really impressive battery life. This phone I took out yesterday, did not charge it. Overnight, I had, 5 hours of screen on time, I believe it was, when it was all said and done, and left it overnight, and still had 42% left in the morning. That is phenomenal battery life. Absolutely A-plus stuff. That's why, you go back and forth on what you want for innovation. A lot of overseas manufacturers, you see Oppo, you see Vivo, you see all these wonderful phones coming out with all these designs, questionable software, and now you have Samsung. Yeah, they're going to give you the boring design, but they're going to give you some pluses in the other areas, namely battery life. Software support we talked about. S Pen, you get the extra stuff with the S Pen this year. I like it. I always like the S Pen. I think so. Smart Select, some other stuff you got in here. But I really like a lot of it. The Air Actions, I just think that the S Pen is one of the better things. I always loved it on the Note. I use it for cameras and selfies and stuff like that. I love jotting down notes. Really, it's gift maker and stuff like that. Smart Select and stuff. Making gifts with friends or goofing off or drawing on images or being able to sign documents. It's just incredibly useful to have. Now, if you hate it, you don't use it, and you never want to use it, that's fine. I completely understand that. But I am somebody who does use the S Pen more often than others, so I really like having that feature there and the S Pen. Overall, is it going to be worth it? That's a tough ask. $1,300. Take advantage of the discounts. Take advantage of anything you can get through the year with Samsung. That's really the key to any of this stuff. Is really sitting down and making sure that you get as much as you can. Never really pay the entire price. Cameras we're going to go over later in the week. I want the full week for that. We're going to take images. We're going to test out the AI stuff. We're going to do maybe a comparison with the iPhone, a couple others like we did last year. I want more time with the camera. So far, so good. I really like the shots. They're clear. They're crisp. Colors are good. Colors are better than the display. The display. Look, that annoyed me. The display thing annoyed me. I'm getting older now. I can't get aggravated like this. But the display thing, I was really more annoyed by I understand everyone's going to have an opinion on it. But it's clear that Samsung is coming out and say, if they're saying that it's something they're going to fix or address, then it was something that that was not quite working right. You could tell. It didn't take a brain surgeon to go back and forth and choose vivid and natural and see literally nothing happening. That's obviously not the design, right? And the more I thought of it, the more you think it's you want to call it a bug or a feature patch. And don't talk to me about a day one patch, okay? This is what they're shipping to paying customers. I paid full money for my S24 Ultra. This is what they sent to me. They don't get like a day one is when I received it. Day one is when they took my money and they gave me this. So don't talk about a patch coming, give them a chance or whatever, review software, none of that stuff. This is what they're sending people. This is what I want working. But it's a good phone. Look, I know that sometimes when I get on the gripes and stuff like that, it kind of skews the fact, but it is a good phone. It's everything that you'd want. If you're a Samsung fan, if you're somebody who's a Note fan, if you're an S23 Ultra, S22 Ultra fan, if you're somebody that loves the One UI software, if you like the Samsung cameras, if you like the Samsung extras, this is absolutely everything that you wanted in a phone. Okay? So now, you might not be asking for a lot, and that's something that the Samsung fans are going to have to rectify at another point in time. They're not really giving you a whole lot here. They're giving you exactly what you asked for, nothing else, and they're playing it right down the middle of the runway. And for a lot of people, that's fine. And I can understand that. You don't really want to take a chance on $1,300. You want safe, you want what you know, you want something that's refined and excellent, and the S24 Ultra absolutely checks all of those boxes. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.